Everybody, hello and welcome to another of our webinars, of my webinars. To everybody who has been here before, welcome back, and to all the newcomers, welcome. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about remote management of license servers and also a little bit of how we at OpenLM are thinking about maybe providing a service to you as our customers and help you with managing your license servers or remotely directly from our end. So the topics for the conversation are really simple. This will be one of the short webinars. I want to give a lot of time for the Q&A, as the Q&A has been recently very popular. So at the beginning, I would like to talk a little bit about the mainstream license managers that are on the market that OpenLM is supporting. Then a little bit of how the OpenLM Broker, which is one of our key components, actually interacts with the license managers and can project the data into the OpenLM system. And at the same time, how the OpenLM Broker actually can get the data and how it can help you to do the license management remotely. Because as you probably know, if you have to log into each of your individual license servers all the time, that takes up a lot of time and effort. And that's what the OpenLM is all about. Making your life easier, making you work a little bit less, automate for you, and make you do this in a more flexible way. And the third topic is, as I said at the beginning, a little bit what we are trying to discuss internally, providing service to actually do the remote management for yourself. So without further ado, let's begin. Let's talk a little bit about the mainstream license managers that are now on the market. Please bear in mind, this is by no means an extensive list of everything there is. I only really picked up those that are used by wide array of the license engineering applications and that we do support the best ways. There is a lot more that you can get through our tool, but these are the mainstream ones. So which are these mainstream license managers? And if you have been working with the field for quite some while, you are probably familiar with these names. First, we have FlexLM, the key player that the majority of the engineering application portfolio is actually utilizing. The other one, only probably a little bit smaller, is LMX. Then we have the DSLS, which is the proprietary Dassault Systems license manager, which is, as you can imagine from the name, it's coming directly from Dassault Systems and is there to manage TIA and all the other applications coming from Dassault. IBMLM is a little bit older one, but I still want to mention it because we know that even though some of the main applications like TIA that have used this license manager in the past are moving away from it, there is still a wide variety of the old school CATIA installations in the engineering world that still have to work through this older license manager. Then we have BetaLM, which is a proprietary license manager coming from the Beta CAE corporation, which is the main provider of ANSA and Meta systems. Those are key players in the computer-aided engineering field. Then we have Codemeter and Sentinel, which are a little bit smaller, but again, are focused more on actually delivering security for the vendor, and many others. So without further ado, FlexLM, like I said, FlexLM is one of the mainstream license managers, one of the most commonly used. If you go to the big vendors like Siemens, looking at those big PLM solutions as Teamcenter, FlexLM is the key player on the market that is supporting these applications. As far as supporting FlexLM goes from OpenLM side, OpenLM does offer extremely extensive FlexLM support. We can do a lot of stuff remotely for the FlexLM license managers, like swapping license files, checking the debug log files remotely, starting and stopping this license manager. FlexLM, there is one key thing when it comes to FlexLM, and this is something that we often see coming towards us from our customers or from our prospects, and that is a difference between how this license manager is actually recording what is happening on the license manager and how it's recording the sessions. And there's the primary option, that's the debug log file, which is something that OpenLM does utilize when it comes to reading the session data, reading what is going on. And there is the report log file, which again is a proprietary system that was developed by Flexera, who is also the developer of the FlexLM license manager. And this report log file is a file that is encrypted, and it does contain usage in a similar way as the debug log file, but only a little bit more extensive and can be read primarily by the Flexera's tool, the FlexLM manager for engineering. Now, our competition. If you've been working with the field, and you already know this. The FlexLM license manager utilizes something that's called an LMGRD, which is an executable, which is the license manager daemon that's running on the back end, and through that the license manager is actually starting. There is also a newer version coming from Flexera, which is called LM admin. It does basically the same thing as an LMGRD, but it also allows you to connect to the license manager through a simple web interface and do some basic maintenance there. FlexLM, as I said, has a readable license file, which an OpenLM can load for you, and it also has something what is called an options file. This is the industry term that FlexLM uses for what is basically an authorization file, and you can do various methods of actually controlling what the license manager is doing, from setting up the borrowing timeout on the licenses, actually making it that the report log file is created, allowing license usage, denying license usage, grouping users by grouping users into groups by either the user IDs or the host names or the IP addresses, and then applying authorization rules to these licenses. So that's about FlexLM. The following ones will be a little bit shorter because I don't really want to spend 5 minutes explaining every license manager, but another key player that is on the market is LMX. Similar to FlexLM, OpenLM offers extensive support for the LMX license manager. It again does use a log file, debug log file that is recording the sessions, even though this debug log file has a little bit different format compared to the FlexLM license manager. There is also a small graphical tool that is called the LMX End Util, which actually can again help you do some basic form of license management. And this will be valid later when you will see how the OpenLM Broker actually does interact with these license manager tools to get the utilization and then stream it to the OpenLM frontend. Another license manager that we have on the menu, which is widely popular, is the DSLS, the Dassault Systems licensing system. It's proprietary, it's coming from the Dassault system. So as you can imagine, it is only valid when you are using applications coming from the Dassault. The primary application, of course, again, if you've been in the industry, you know this, is the CATIA and all the CATIA extensions. But Dassault also does offer some other interesting product portfolio, especially from all the acquisitions that they've gathered. The DSLS is completely proprietary. You cannot really go into it as you go with the FlexLM, but it does offer a robust graphical user interface out of the box where you can actually connect remotely to the license manager, and you can start and stop the service. You can export the license portfolio. It has a big authorization rule portion where you can go really deep and again basically do the same thing that we discussed you can do with the FlexLM options files, where you can allow, deny, reserve, or limit the usage of licenses. It can also be controlled fully through a command line, which again will be valid later, where we are actually trying to develop an authorization rule management for OpenLM frontend, the same way as we do offer the options files management for the FlexLM license manager. IBMLM, as I said, it's really one of the oldest ones on the market. It's been up in the forefront for very, very long in the CAD world. OpenLM does support it very well. There is a graphical user management, which if you have to run it, then you see it. It's really old, but it did service purpose, and I think it's worth mentioning because it may still come up, when you are reviewing your application, especially if you have something like an older CATIA for whatever reason on version 6, you have probably encountered this license manager as well. BetaLM is coming from Beta CAE. It's strictly for this company. Beta is a key player in the computer-aided engineering world. Their ANSA and Meta tool are used widely in the CAE. There is no graphical user management in this case. Everything is controlled through the CMD. And again, there is a command that's called BetaLM stats, which as you will see when we are showcasing what the brokers do, is something that we actually use to get the utilization data from this license manager. Last but not least is something what I wanted to also talk about, Codemeter and Sentinel HASP. These license managers are a little bit different because they usually come with a USB dongle. Sentinel, which is basically a hardware key that you need to plug into the license server where the license manager is running. This adds an extra measure of security, especially for the vendor, because it's extremely hard to abuse. And OpenLM again offers good support for Codemeter and HSAP. So these were the most common license manager used, and in the following slides, I would actually like to showcase you how the OpenLM Broker is interacting with these license managers and how it can actually get the data, and how it's connecting that to the OpenLM front-end system, and how you can actually, with the OpenLM front-end plus the OpenLM brokers, do something that we can call remote management of those license servers. So how does the broker interact with the license managers? And again, OpenLM Broker is a key feature for OpenLM to get better data. Even though we still say that it is not mandatory, it's an extension, and this extension is optional, because in the end, you can actually just use the OpenLM server without the broker. You can remote sample the data, and you will get, let's call it, suitable results, but not the best results that you can get, especially when there is something like a network connectivity loss or a problem with the OpenLM server. All the time that there is the downtime when the server is not able to read the data from the license manager, that creates a gap in the data for your OpenLM server. With the broker, this is not the case, because the broker is running directly on the license manager, and it has a varied functionality. So one of the things that it does, that it's running on the backend and it's gathering the data, and it's gathering the data in two ways, which is why I have spoken about the log files for the license manager, and also the comments that can control the license manager, because the broker is actually doing both of these things at the same time. It's reading the log file, and at the same time, it's also listening on the port where the license service is running to make sure that the data is completely valid. And of course, if there is a network connectivity issue or there is a problem with the OpenLM server, since the broker is reading and loading the data and buffering the data on the license manager, once the network connectivity is resolved or the issue with the OpenLM server is resolved, the broker will just simply upstream the data to the server. So in your report, you will not see any gap. It's a huge benefit, and it's something that we strongly suggest that if you are going with OpenLM solution, we strongly suggest that you go ahead and use the broker, because it makes the things much more easier. Plus, on top of that, it's missing from my presentation, from my slide here, but also if you want to get denials for the license managers, the broker, it becomes a mandatory component. So I'm showcasing a URL here that you are welcome to visit, and you can actually see all the license managers that are supported and all the capabilities that we do support. New license managers are now predominantly added to the broker. So I do hope you can see this screenshot. As you can imagine, it was not easy to get it, and we are a smaller company, so we don't really have all the engineering applications available directly to us. But I'm showing you the broker interface, which is now loaded with the FlexLM licensing system. And as you can see, here is the small window that is called commands. And this is how the broker is actually getting the data. The first portion that I said is listening on the port, is utilizing the lmutil command here with the lmstat parameter. It's querying the port of this test server here, and if I execute the command, I can already see that this is actually giving me the status of the license manager. So in this example, I can see that the license server is up, it's a license cluster. As you can see, there are 3 license servers configured. It is showcasing me which of the servers is a master, and it's showcasing me the version of the license manager of the FlexLM LMGRD daemon, and it's also showcasing me the version of the license manager daemon itself. What I can also do with this command, and again, that's the second portion of what the broker does, is it can query with a few more parameters the same server on the same port, and actually, as you can see here in this next slide, get the real utilization of what is happening. So this is how the broker is reading the data on one end, And as like I said, and you can see it here in the log file section, there is the log file configured, which is the other stream of data coming to the broker from the license manager. It is reading the log file, and this is how it actually does create the output that is then streamed to the OpenLM server. Similar example we have here is for the DSL system license manager. As you can see, DSLS is listening on a different port. The command is again a different, but you see the DSLS SRV executable file with parameters. Basically does the same thing that we just discussed. Again, it does query the license manager for status, and it can query the license manager for the utilization. And at the same time, again, the DSLS, if you also want to see denials, is reading the log file that is created by the DSL system license manager, and again combining the data output together. Same case is there with the LMX license manager. Again, as you can see, the LMX end util that I mentioned earlier is the util provided for the LMX license manager, and then again the broker is just using this command with the parameters to query the license server on the port and do the same thing as I mentioned before. And again, at the same time, for LMX, we are reading the log file and creating the data output. BetaLM, again, as you can see, the BetaLM stat command, again, it's, as you can see, there is a pattern here. It's the same principle for the majority of the mainstream license managers that the broker is doing, utilizing the commands and reading the log files. Now I'm going to showcase you a small short demo with two versions of our system. So one is the current long-term version that is right now called 5.6.x. We are doing multiple releases. This version is still being fully supported by both the support department and by our development department. And then I'm also going to showcase you the new interface in the newly released version 21 that came over the course of 2021. That's where the 21 comes from, because the interface actually did change a little bit. So please note, disclaimer, the broker is required for all the functionality that you will see in this short demo. So without further ado, let me jump right into my OpenLM system. And I got logged out, so I will need to log in. Okay, I'm sorry. Just a second. I'm going to get the password and we will continue. Okay, there we go. Now you should see the screen again. We are logged in into the interface. When it comes to doing what we just discussed, and that is trying to manage your license manager remotely. As I said, the support here is primarily for the FlexLM license manager. It's best supported by us. As you can see here, I have an example ArcGIS running on the FlexLM license manager. Here I can see the host name of the license manager. I can see the uptime. I can see the port it's running on. And here are a few commands that I can actually utilize. If you ever get to the point where you are using the OpenLM solution for this, be very careful, because as you can imagine, these start and stop commands actually give signal to the broker on the license manager end to either stop the license service or start the license service. What is primarily used is the reread command, which actually gives signal to the license manager to reread the license file. And it's primarily used when you receive a new license file from your vendor and you want to swap it remotely. When I say remotely, I really mean remotely. For FlexLM, we actually do support doing it through the OpenLM interface. As always, we are trying to find out ways and maybe pick another license manager to do this, but primarily the support is there for the FlexLM right now. And as you can see in here, you can get the option file, you can get the license file, you can get the log file. As far as the license file is concerned, you can actually upload the new license file through the OpenLM frontend, and the broker will take care of replacing the license file on the backend and actually backing up your current license file. Once this is done, you can actually go and hit the reread button, which, like I said, will signal it will signal the license manager to read the license file without the need to actually stop and start the service. So there is no interruption. The license file is being read, and you should see all the new license keys or all the or maybe less license keys if you have been reducing. Simply update it on the license manager and then in the OpenLM front end as well. So this was for the older version, the current long-term version that is called 5.6. Let me also switch to another instance that I have here, which we are running on the latest version, where, like I said, the interface is a little bit different, and I need to load it up before I can reshare it with you. It should be done momentarily. There we go. So as you can see, pretty much a majority of the front end interface looks the same, with some small changes. But when it comes to actually looking at the broker window, it's done a little bit differently. So in here, you can actually open up the broker button, and in here you will be able to see the license servers that are tied to the particular broker. I'm not sure that I picked the correct one. And in here, you can, you can do the same actions as you have seen demonstrated in the older OpenLM version. It's just that the window is a little bit different. So again, you can start and stop the license manager. You can reread the license file, and you can manage files through this window. So again, this particular window actually looks the same, downloading the log files, and you can upload and change the license file. So that's pretty much as far as the demonstration goes. There is one small portion of an extra feature that the broker does for you when it comes to the FlexLM license manager. As I mentioned, it is there and it's able to read the options files, and you can actually make the changes to the options files themselves, which do control the FlexLM license managers directly through this front-end interface. So you don't really need to go to the text file and now think about the structure that you want to create for this file and make sure that you don't make any mistake. You can just go ahead into this front end, edit it. You can pick it by feature. You can add all features if you want to. You can see the users here, and you can create the policies as you like. You can include users, exclude. You can enable the borrowing, which is basically just an offline license extractions. You can limit the users. You can. That's what the max button is for. So all of this functionality is being covered by the OpenLM Broker, and even though it does not do the remote license management completely, it does at least help you. And since we know that the majority of the engineering applications are running on the FlexLM, it can alleviate the day-to-day pressure you have, especially if you are running the installation in a big environment where there are a lot of changes done, or maybe on a weekly basis you are updating the license files. It can be done through the front end. Last but not least, and if you were on my previous webinar regarding this, you probably heard it, but if you were not, we are thinking internally to actually provide remote license management as a service. And that does not mean just through the OpenLM front end, but offering it as a service completely. So if you we know that there are many places where the license manager, the guy that actually is utilizing OpenLM and doing his day-to-day duties when it comes to not just getting the utilization from the tool, but making sure that there is enough licenses for everybody. At the same time, making sure that all the renewals are rolling, that the license reductions are there. And on top of that, he actually needs to manage the license servers themselves, making sure that everything is running in case something is down, going there, trying to fix it, restarting, rebooting, reloading. It's something that we do feel that with the expertise that our support engineers have, since they are dealing with the similar cases on a day-to-day basis, it's something that we think we could offer. So it's just at this point, it's just in a stage of let's call it a proof of concept, and we would like to hear the feedback that you as our customers can give us for that. So with that, I'm gonna cut the presentation. We went for almost 25 minutes, and give a space for Q&A. So feel free to shoot it. I'm gonna enable and unmute all the participants if you guys want to talk. I would be glad to hear you, and if you guys just want to write the questions, feel free to write them down. Yeah, I see Robert raising his hand. Robert, you can just go ahead.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes. All right, thank you. Hey, so with regard to editing options file, I know you said you want to be careful with the text editing. Any little mistake can cause it to not load properly.
Yes.
I've done that. And so when first starting it, I guess is there an undo button, or would you recommend making a backup copy of the options file before we start editing
everything, I recommend to make a backup copy and always keep it somewhere. But before you hit apply and the license, the options file is actually loaded, you should be fine. And look through the interface, and let me go back to the interface. I'm still sharing, right? It's much more flexible because in here, unless you actually save the changes and then deploy, you're fine. So you can always review, make sure. And the point of the front end interface that you shouldn't really make a typo here. Like it's much easier to actually go through here and not make a typo instead of putting in a group and excluding it from everything. Like what can happen if you do editing the list of the option files manually?
And Hi, Branislav, it's Mike.
Hey, Mike, go ahead.
The option files management automatically makes a backup of the option file before it updates it.
Oh, okay. Yes, you see, Mike knows better because he's working with the system for a long, long time.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yep. And if somebody tells you that they've never done the mistake, they're probably lying. We all make a typo here and there.
Some of us more than others.
It's part of the job. Rob, that was Robert. Thanks for him. Thank you, Robert. We have from Sunil, does OpenLM support RLM? Yes, it does. That was the question from the chat. Chat events, is this available for a 30-day temporary trial? There is a trial version that you can try and test. Plus, if you want to do something like POC, you are welcome to approach our sales department. Just go to the openlm.com and there is a chat button where you can actually access either the support or the sales department directly through chat, or you can just go to sales@openlm.com, and we would be more than happy to talk to you, Chad, and set up an evaluation. Hey, no, you're welcome, Sunil. I was actually trying to change the presentation a little bit, but if there is no space on a small webinar to actually talk about all the license managers that we do support. But yes, RLM, it's definitely up there. Okay, guys, if anybody wants to ask anything, don't be shy. So there's a question from Edward in the chat. We are migrating one software item from FlexLM to LMX. Can it be installed on the same server VM? Yes, you can install as many license managers as you want. In fact, that's probably the way, if you are in a bigger company, that's the way it's done. There doesn't really make sense to dedicate one virtual machine to a single license manager, since in most cases, these are not really resource heavy things. So I can tell you from experience, I have seen virtual machines that are running 20, 30 license managers at the same time.
I have a general license management question. Well, on the lines of virtual machines like that. I know this might be off topic for this, but have you ever seen people spin up very, very tiny Linux instances in AWS to have individual license managers per Nano, like a Nano instance?
Like the Nano instance. So even the Nano instance can probably accommodate more than one. And yes, I have seen it. And even though it's a little bit off topic, it's let's discuss it. Let's have this discussion. It's something that we do see happen, and it's something that I'm personally expecting to happen more and more as companies like Microsoft are trying to force people to move to the cloud more and more. It only makes sense, that our customers and prospects or people using engineering licensing in general are thinking about maybe moving the license management to the cloud. Why not? It comes with certain advantages and certain disadvantages, but yes, it is happening. In fact, there are probably whole environments, not just the license management that is that the people are trying to move to. Whether it's AWS or it's Microsoft Azure, or it's something smaller like Scaleway, pick yours.
Yeah, is the broker supported on Linux?
Yes, the broker is supported on Linux. In fact, that's where we are actually trying to go. And if you've been following us, that that we released it in a newsletter, I believe, very recently. Even the OpenLM server is now supported on Linux. So it's part of the strategy that we have to push the product to be more cross-platform, not just strictly to Windows. But the broker was, Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think was the first extension, and there's one that's most well supported on Linux. It's been running on Linux for a long time now.
Yeah, the broker's been supported on Linux for a very long time.
Yep.
Do you have any I don't know, experience with the cost difference of running multiple Nano instances versus a Windows server to run multiple? It sounds like the Nano instances are pennies compared to the Windows services.
Especially since you can run them on ARM architecture and just get something like a CentOS ARM there. Yes, look, again, I cannot answer it for you, but it's a general strategy that I know it's being tried and employed by many people. Instead of running 2-3 big powerful machines, just adding those smaller nanos one by one as the need, as the requirement rises. Yes, it's definitely being done. That's one of the reasons that we also want to promote running OpenLM on Linux, because no matter how good your Windows system is, it will always be more resource heavy than a simple CentOS or Debian machine. Leonardo.
Hyperslab.
Hello.
I am thinking in a different combination when your licenses are installed in the cloud, like Autodesk, and you have machines with OpenLM Broker. How is working this? Because if the licenses are in the cloud, you are not able to see the license you save directly from the server.
Yes,
but you can see the usage from the broker. Then this is really useful to get a good resource in order to analyze the usage of the users, how it's working in order to get a reporting. Can you explain more or less this situation about the conclusions?
So with Autodesk, either you are running an enterprise agreement and they still allow you to use token flex, or it's not an option for you. And like you said, you need to go to the Autodesk cloud and have all of the licensing done there with the subscription model. There is no way for OpenLM to monitor it without the agent extension, because there is no centralized. There is a centralized system, but that it's residing on Autodesk, and it's not like they are going to share it. So the only way to actually track what the end application is doing is to install the agent and monitor the process of for example, the AutoCAD process, and at the same time load the entitlement from the Autodesk cloud portal into the OpenLM server. So in this setup, you really don't need to think about the broker, because the broker sadly cannot help you here. The broker's primary purpose, it was designed to work and populate the network licensing model. So it does require a central network server where it can actually listen to the license manager and get the log data. So with the Autodesk cloud, with the subscription model that they are now pushing to the small and medium-sized customers, this is not something that the broker is interacting in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's a pity.
Yeah, it's a pity, but we at least we can say that we do have a solution if you really want to do that. But yeah, it's
The problem is not now. The problem could be the future if other vendors will make the same, then we should have a problem.
I think it's definitely a huge portion of them are trying to move that way. But you can see even with Autodesk, who are one of the first ones that actually are trying to move to this, is that they still allow for the big customers. They allow the enterprise agreement. They allow the token flex. And I cannot speak for them, but you could definitely see why. In your smaller or maybe even a medium-sized company, there is a definite requirement, and you can see who your Autodesk portfolio users are. You can have a small or medium-sized CAD department, and you can say with a fair amount of certainty that yes, these guys are working with AutoCAD 6 hours a day, so it's fine. But when you look at a bigger company or a corporation where the Autodesk portfolio, it's in a similar way that the Adobe portfolio of products is, that sometimes it's hard to pinpoint the business case, and you can have a facility manager who is just doing the drawing because he's expanding the building, and he wants to have a nice drawing of the office and who's going to sit where, or they are drawing the electrical wiring on the AutoCAD. As just AutoCAD, you're not even talking about Autodesk Inventor, can be used for so many different things that it's hard to pinpoint the usage. And again, at the same time, it's hard to justify having somebody like this hypothetical facility manager, justify buying a license just for him, a named license and pay a subscription for the whole year, which is, I think, partially why these big customers would push back to Autodesk. Like, they are happy with the token flex model. It gives them the network licensing system, and it's even in the name. It gives them the flexibility, because in the case of the token flex system, what the facility guy, it takes 6 tokens, which is what, between 4 to 12 USD depending on your Autodesk contract, which is nothing in the scope. But if you had to pay for a whole year for a subscription for him, that's going to be a lot more expensive.
That's easy. When I was talking with my Autodesk account manager, the best reply was, "No, don't worry. You can make a subscription to the premium plan, and then you are able to see the license." You say, "Okay, but this is not the idea. If I should subscribe and upgrade my current subscription with more cost, this is not really useful for me."
Yeah, no, it's an interesting topic, and it's interesting to see where the licensing world is moving. I personally think that the network licensing, apart from probably the really big corporations, will become obsolete. Maybe not tomorrow, not 2 years, but probably not even 5 years. Maybe 10, 15 years. But it's moving away from that, and because we know why the vendors do it. It's much easier for them.
In fact, this will be a real problem, a real situation, maybe in 2, 3, or 4 years for the most part of the vendors, and for many companies, of course, and for the administrators also.
So, it's why we do have the agent. It's why we are always thinking of the ways how to best load the entitlements, how to expand the ability of the system to not just monitor what is a networking licensing system. But the purpose of today's discussion was really just to showcase how the brokers actually work when you do have a license server and a license manager that's serving network licenses.
Yes, that's it. We will see the next years.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Okay, thank you very much, Raf, as always.
As always, welcome. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and I wish you a pleasant rest of your day. Bye-bye.